Effective use of leading lines can make a photograph more engaging. Hi, and welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about composition, which is a fundamental aspect of photography, which can often seem complicated. The question is, how can we effectively arrange the vital elements within a scene and establish their harmonious relationship with one another? Well, in this video, I will share various composition rules and techniques that will make your images stand out and allow you to take your photography to the next level. So let's dive in. But firstly, an outline of composition. It's like the language of photography. It allows you to tell your story, evoke emotions, and guide the viewer's eye through your image. And understanding these principles and techniques of composition can truly elevate your photography. Let's go over some common compositional techniques that you may have already been aware of. But first is a rule of thirds, which is a compositional guideline by dividing an image into a 3x3 grid by drawing two equally spaced horizontal lines and two equally spaced vertical lines. By placing key elements of the composition at the intersection points or along the lines can create a more visually appealing and balanced composition. It is a useful tool to help create an interesting and dynamic image. And one helpful tip regarding the rule of thirds or any other related rules is to ensure that there is sufficient space in our direction the subject is facing, looking or moving into. As in this particular image, a squirrel is facing and looking towards the right. Therefore, I position the squirrel on the left-hand side of the grid, while placing the eye, which is the focus point, at the top left intersection. It is worth noting that when capturing images of animals or people, it is important to focus on their eyes. And the second one is leading lines. They are lines within an image that lead the viewer's eye towards a specific focal point or subject. These lines can be actual physical lines, such as roads, railway tracks or fences, or they can be implied lines created by elements like the arrangement of objects, shadows, or the perspective. By incorporating leading lines into the composition, you can create depth and guide the viewer's attention and add a sense of movement or direction. They can help create a visual journey for the viewer, leading them from the foreground to the background or from one part of the image to the other. Effective use of leading lines can make a photograph more engaging and draw the viewer's attention to the intended subject or point of interest. And the third one is framing, and it's one of my favourites. It's a technique that uses elements within a scene to create a frame around a subject. By using objects or elements in the foreground, middle ground or background, you can add depth and draw the attention to the main subject. The frame can be created by various elements such as arches, doorways, windows, branches or any other object that forms a natural or man-made frame. And the purpose of framing is to focus a viewer's attention on the subject and provide a sense of context or containment. And framing can enhance the composition by adding layers and visual interest. It also creates a sense of depth, leading the viewer's eye into the photograph. Additionally, it can evoke a feeling of being an observer or peering through a window, giving the image a more immersive quality. Using framing is a technique that requires careful positioning and composition to ensure that the frame complements the subject and enhances the overall impact of the photograph. And number 4 is symmetry. It's where the elements of an image are balanced or mirrored across a central axis. It involves capturing a scene or subject that exhibits perfect or near perfect reflection or balance. Symmetry can be found in various forms, such as horizontal symmetry, where the top and the bottom halves of an image are mirror images of each other, or vertical symmetry, where the left and the right halves are mirrored. Additionally, radial symmetry involves elements radiating out from a central point. When used effectively, symmetry in photography can create a sense of harmony, order and balance. It often evokes a feeling of stability and can be visually pleasing to the viewer. And number 5 is the golden ratio, also known as the divine proportion or phi, which is a mathematical concept that has been applied to art and design and aesthetics for centuries. It's a ratio of approximately 1.618 and is considered aesthetically pleasing to the human eye. It can be in the form of a spiral or a grid. Now, I don't suggest you get to calculate and do complex math for this. There are guidelines that will help you, and they are built into modern cameras and editing software, and I'll show you these at the end. But let's get back to the golden ratio. It can be found all over nature, architecture and various art forms. As I said before, you look at the famous paintings by Da Vinci, you'll see this ratio. You can use it as visually appealing and balanced images. The golden ratio is used to determine the placement and proportion of elements within a composition. By aligning key elements or subjects along the lines or intersections derived from the golden ratio, one can achieve a sense of balance, harmony and visual interest. But while the golden ratio is a useful guideline, it is important to note artistic and creative choices can vary, and not all compositions need to adhere strictly to this ratio. It serves as a tool to assist in creating visually pleasing compositions, but it is not a strict rule that must be followed in every instance. As well as all the compositional guidelines that we've discussed, I would like to talk about how you can enhance your composition with these additional techniques. The first thing is consider your background. Always be mindful of what's happening in the background of your frame. Be sure to clear any unwanted clutter to ensure it doesn't distract from your subject. Make sure it contributes to the overall story you want to convey, and it allows the subject to stand out. And number 2 is play with your depth of field. Experiment with shallow depth of field to isolate your subject from the background, creating a pleasing blur. This helps draw attention to the main subject and adds a sense of depth. And I've got a video regarding depth of field and I'll put the link in above. And number 3 is pay attention to lighting. Lighting is essential in photography. Consider how it interacts with your subjects and the overall composition. Play with shadows, highlights and different lighting conditions to enhance the mood and visual impact of your image. And number 4 is break the rules. While it is crucial to learn and understand the composition techniques, don't be afraid to break the rules. Sometimes the story you want to tell may require a unique and unconventional composition that results in the most captivating of images. But I would suggest if you're just starting out, use the established rules as a guide. This will give you structure to build your own style. And by incorporating these compositional techniques and tips into your photography, you'll be well on your way to captivating, visually stunning and engaging images that truly stand out. The way to get your grid up on the back of your screen is go into the menu and then you'll see shooting info. This is on a Canon, by the way, so do check your camera manufacturer details to find out where you can display or get your grid displayed. So if I go into the shooting info and I scroll down to grid display, you've got a choice. You've got the 3x3 grid, you've got the 6x4 grid, and you've got 3x3 in diagonal, which is what I prefer. You just come out of that and then you have your grid on the display there. And there you have it. So you've got the grid. It does help to place the subject roughly where you want and reduces the idea of cropping. And with the golden ratio, just imagine a kind of 9 shape, if you like, across your screen. And then you can place roughly where you want your subject to be if you want to use the golden ratio. So that's how you get the grid on your camera. So in Photoshop, you can overlay a grid and you just click on this grid form here and then you can choose the colours of the grid you like. I've chosen green, yellow and red, and it gives you 3. So you've got the rule of thirds, the golden ratio and the dynamic symmetry. And then you can say update grid and it'll overlay a grid on your particular photo. So there you are, all the 3. You can switch them off, like you say, and choose individual ones. So let's say bring up the golden ratio. Now, so if you want other guidelines, then they're in the crop tool. So if you go to crop and bring up the crop tool, put that on there, and then you can see that the golden spiral appears, which is in there, and it interlines with the golden ratio because you see the lines here all connect to the golden ratio, and then you can either use that if you choose to. So that's it in a nutshell. And then you can toggle, if you press O, you can toggle across all different guidelines for you. See, you've got the golden triangle, this is called, and then you've got obviously the golden ratio, and then the rule of thirds, which is already listed on there anyway. So you can use all them as well, and then if you want to crop, they actually move in your crop for you. Okay, so that's how you can bring up guidelines to help you place your subjects. So within camera, if you've shot in camera and you've placed them best as you can to where you want, say like you've used the rule of thirds for instance, then it's just a matter of bringing this, overlaying it on. So just double checking that what you've shot is roughly where you want it to be. Then it might only mean a small adjustment that you need to make to bring it exactly where you want. But as I say, they are guidelines, they're not strict rules. Well, if you did like this video, I'm really pleased, and that really does make me happy. And if you've got some value from it, that's great. So hit that subscribe button, press the like button, and also the notification bell for future uploads. And also put some comments below for anything you found in this video of interest or anything else, or you want to know anything more, or even the pictures that I put up for the demonstration of this video. If you like them or if you've got any comments about them, then make sure you put them in as well, because I'll be really interested to know. And you take care and have a really good week.